So got an article from Breitbart, and it's about Elizabeth Warren trying to pull off a Maduro. You see, in Venezuela, the socialist leader Maduro, basically the government printed a bunch of money, created a ton of inflation, and with all this inflation, the the few grocery stores or private businesses, they had to raise their prices because of such demand. Well, he blamed. This is where the U.S. is at as well. Printed a bunch of money, created a bunch of demand. I know so many people that got just owning just a bare basic LLC that wasn't even profitable, getting $200,000, $80,000. And then just all the scams that people had, and all this welfare that people got as far as the child tax credits. The country is flooded with hot currency that's circling around. Like, M2 money supply is insane. So, and of course, with the bottlenecks in the supply ports, and just putting it like COVID, putting a strain on everything, and workers quitting, or just basically they're having so much welfare that it's actually economically reasonable to have one person in the family stay home and take care of the kids because they're getting so much welfare. Well, all this combines into higher prices, and that's where we're at. And what Maduro did, he blamed the greedy capitalist store owners, and he had to privatize or seize their stores, and you could see empty store shelves and crazy lines, people waiting for days to get any kind of food or whatever, medicine. And we're not quite there yet, but you could see that luckily there's still some semblance of a free market in America, but you could see that Elizabeth Warren would be the socialist dictator, or like the socialist person in the government, calling to nationalize the grocery stores or break them up. Usually don't read Breitbart, but they do have an interesting article. Elizabeth Warren launches another fact-free attack on grocery stores. So I watched her video here that she tweeted out. Basically, she's lamenting that back in the day they had a ton of different grocery stores, and now there's only like 3 or 4 chains, and they must be colluding because they have record profits this year, and so they must be all bringing up their prices in a secret back. You know what I mean? Colluding. There's like a smoke-filled room with Mr. Kroger, Mr. Safeway, and Mr. Ralph's. They're all like in the back, and they're all comparing notes, and they're all decided to raise their prices 20% across the board. And so the government has antitrust tools to break them up. But the funny thing is, these big grocery stores like Walmart and Kroger, they have economies of scale. They can actually, they only make 1%, probably 1% markup on any item. So it's a volume thing. It's not a margin thing. They don't increase the margins that much. So Kroger making a lot of profit, it's probably they're just selling a lot more stuff. But if they wanted to break up big grocery stores, consumers will actually eventually pay higher prices, because these smaller grocery stores, they don't have economies of scale. You know, a couple like superpower like accounting firm can or like PR, like HR or whatever, for all these all their expenses are diffused throughout thousands and thousands of stores, where like a grocery store that has like 3 or 4 chain branches, they have to hire like HR, they have to hire an accountant and all this other stuff, and it doesn't lead to lower prices. But she doesn't understand anything about economics, and I wonder if to be in the Senate you had to pass an economics test. I think 2/3 of the people will not be there. Like, not even like a hard one. Not even like master's level, PhD level. No, no, no. Just the most simple, basic, politically free, whatever. Just whatever economists think that the very basic knowledge that you need to get from the first year of economics class. Just make that test and have senators pass that. But then again, maybe she's so diabolical and clever that she actually knows that this is stupid, but this is good for her political career, and she can demagogue on this. So the article, Breitbart article, says it's obvious that what she's up to here, the same thing that she was up to last time she floated this dangerously deranged conspiracy theory. She's hoping to let fraudulency, Joe Biden, off the hook for the record inflation that's solely his fault. Well, Breitbart, I mean, ultra biased. I get it. The inflation is not solely Joe Biden's fault. I mean, it's Trump printed a bunch of... Trump took the inflation to the peak as far as, like, putting a bunch of money out there. And once Joe Biden got there, it just happened to crush. I mean, yes, he made it worse, of course, but, you know, a bunch of money printing, it's that, you know, a lot of presidents are responsible for that. The fiscal problems didn't start with Joe Biden, but of course he exacerbated them. But it's finding kind of poetic justice or karma or whatever, something funny that Trump was super financially irresponsible, and Biden gets in there, basically does the same thing Trump is doing, but here comes the inflation tidal wave. Is Biden solely responsible? I don't think so. First, Biden's lunatic spending cheapened the dollar and increased prices. Second, Biden's supply... I mean, what about Trump's lunatic spending? Second, Biden's supply chain mismanagement ensured that more demand than supply increased prices. I don't know if he was really responsible for the supply chain, but is he? I don't know. He put Pete Buttigieg in there, but... And then Biden's gobsmacking mismanagement of China flu. China flu. Anyway, I love any way you can be politically incorrect. Just go for it. Resulted in personnel shortages that further damaged the supply chain, which again created more demand than supply and increased prices even more. The facts are this: grocery stores operate on some of the smallest profit margins of any business out there. It's a volume business, not a profit margin business. Additionally, once you understand that grocery stores are a volume business, you will understand why their profits exploding during the third quarter of 2001. That's when Omicron hit. That's when people started stockpiling groceries again. Also, because of the virus, fewer people are going out to eat, which means they're eating at home, which means they're buying more groceries. More people than ever are working out of their homes, which means they're eating at... Oh, okay. Already read that line. As far as competition in my small town, there are 6 different grocery stores competing for my business within about 2 square miles. So the idea that there's some sort of price gouging going on is absurd. Yeah, I mean, come on, like, open up a grocery store and have higher prices than Walmart or whatever. I mean, you're going to get crushed. I mean, people have... Homo economicus, the average person, they don't have any values or loyalty to your store. They're gonna. I mean, they care more about they have some kind of loyalty or some kind of patriotism or whatever, but it's gonna be dwarfed by their family and their financial interest. They're gonna drive their ass to Walmart and get the cheap stuff. So you're gonna be left in the dust. What is this fake Indian belief? All of a sudden, after decades and decades of grocery stores all have gotten together, gouging their customers during a pandemic, that's all of a sudden, after decades and decades, they decided to risk prison by fixing their prices during the third quarter of 2001. Hey, yeah, so this lady, there's a tweet. She points out that, hey, corporate prices, profits fell in 2011. So does that mean Right now they're super greedy in colluding, but when the corporate profits fell, somehow CEOs were feeling very altruistic. I mean, this is like a, you gotta be as stupid as Richard Wolff to think this. Obviously, yes, grocery stores set prices, but they can only do it if the demand, because they can set the prices, but once if nobody's buying, you'll have to put them right back down. That is the key question. Do you believe? Do you believe plunges in inflation and profits in early 2020 were driven by companies becoming more altruistic, less concentrated? Riddle me this, Pocahontas. If Democrats are so concerned with big grocery store chains, why did Democrats close small businesses and allow big grocery store chains to remain open during their anti-science lockdowns? There are only two reasons grocery store prices are so high: Joe and Biden. If we're generally concerned about monopolies and antitrust issues, she will go after big tech in teachers' unions. There you go, another jab at the left. But here's the thing: the subscribe to the horseshoe theory, where the far left and far right, they actually kind of start meeting in the middle, and some of the U.S. patriot, some of the comments here are pretty. I mean, this is supposed to be a right-wing website, but some of the comments on here are very almost, I mean, something that Bernie Sanders supporters would say. This got 73 upvotes. Kroger, their profits just in the third quarter of 2001 were almost 900 million. That was more than 3 times their profits that were during the same period in 2019. This is treason. The entire group of executives and board members of Kroger should be arrested in prison for 10 years minimum. I mean, this is like the left-wing fascism. And fascism in a way of like the real definition of fascism. The government takeover of corporations for the quote-unquote national good. So I don't have much faith in the hard right or in the populist right, because at the end of the day, they're just Bernie supporters.